In the valley of mist-kissed hills and golden wheat fields lay the village of Thistledown, a place where mornings smelled of baked bread and evenings echoed with laughter and crickets. Cobblestone lanes twisted like sleepy rivers, weaving between cottages dressed in ivy and flowers that reached out like welcoming arms. The villagers were kind-hearted and curious souls. They shared stories as much as they shared soup and seed, and their days were full of small joys: sun-warmed fruit, mended fences, and children's songs echoing from tree to tree. But one ordinary morning, something unusual stirred the peace. A box, just sitting there right on the roadside near the willow tree at the edge of the village. Wooden, dark, carved with faint patterns of spirals and stars. It looked old, important, forgotten, yet strangely present. People gathered around it like moths to a candle. Some whispered, wide-eyed, that it was a treasure chest dropped by a noble passing through. Others murmured of suspicion that it might be a trap, cursed, or worse, holding something no one should ever touch. Rocky, the village carpenter with a strong back and a sharper sense, was one of the first to speak. "We shouldn't open things we don't understand," he said, crossing his arms. "Something about it doesn't sit right." But Elizabeth, the wise healer with silver in her braid and stars in her eyes, stepped closer and studied it gently. "It's old, yes, but not evil," she whispered, brushing a finger over the carvings. "It holds a story, no doubt, but whose?" Among the curious crowd were two children, Seirra, bright and bold, and Jhon, quiet with a curious mind and always sketching strange things in his notebook. "I think it wants to be opened," Seirra whispered to Jhon, her eyes gleaming. "What if it bites?" he asked, only half joking. "What if it sings?" she grinned. They were told to stay back, but like all great adventurers, they didn't listen. As villagers argued treasure or trap, the sky grew heavy with the scent of rain, and the air thickened with suspense. No one dared touch the box. Not really, not yet. It sat there for 3 days, undisturbed, growing legend by the hour. Some claimed they heard whispers from inside at night. Others said it moved a little on its own. Children dared each other to touch it, but none did. And then, on the 4th morning, when the sun spilled gold over the sleepy fields, Seirra and Jhon returned. Alone. Jhon had brought his sketchbook. Seirra had brought a stick, just in case. They crouched before the box, heartbeats fast. "Ready?" she whispered. "No," he said. She opened it anyway. With a tiny creak, the lid lifted. Inside, not gold, not scrolls, not potions, not danger, just things. A pair of round spectacles, a woolen shawl, lavender-scented and frayed at the edges, a biscuit tin, half full of crumbly cookies, and a photograph. Faded but warm. An old lady smiling beside a cat under the same willow tree. A voice behind them gasped. "Oh, my stars!" cried Mrs. Mabel, the elderly woman who lived at the far end of Thistledown, often forgotten in her silence and slowness. "That's my box. I must have left it when I came to feed the ducks on Tuesday." She hobbled forward, clutching her walking stick, eyes filled with tender laughter. "I've been looking everywhere for it." The crowd gathered again, first stunned, then laughing. All that mystery, all that guessing, all that fear and wonder, and it was nothing more than a forgotten box of memories. But somehow it wasn't disappointing. It was humbling, sweet, a reminder that not all mysteries are magical, but all have meaning. The box was returned to Mrs. Mabel's shelf beside her teacups and knitting. Seirra and Jhon didn't find treasure, but they found a story. And in Thistledown, that was even better. Moral: sometimes the mystery is not in what's inside the box, but in the stories we build around it, and the beauty of remembering the simple, ordinary treasures we often overlook.